The teachings of Lord Krishna in the Gita are presented in the form of a conversation of an accomplished teacher, a realized sage, with his disciple Arjun, a devoted spiritual seeker. Arjun has requested Yogeshwar Krishna to support him, since he is his pupil who relies on him. Arjun prays for such teachings which may help him to attain ultimate bliss. Similarly, what you will hear next is a traditional homage in Sanskrit made at the beginning to a revered, accomplished teacher or sage, describing his attributes and requesting blessings and guidance, and offering up the merits of any accomplishments which may result therefrom.
Om Shri Sadgurudev Bhagwan Ki
Jaya Sadguru Devam Paramanandam Amara Shariram Chitrakuta Shri Paramahansa Swami Antaryami Hai Vadanami Sansari Hansanahitari Jagapagudhari Garvagrahari Upakari Satapantha Chalayo Bharamamitayo Rupalakhayo Karatari यह शिष्य है तेरो करतनी हो मोह पर हेरो प्राणधारी जय सद्गुरुदेवम् परमानन्दम् अमरशरीरम् अविकारी निरगुण निरमूलम् धरी स्थूलम् काटलशूलम् भवभारी
ॐ जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव ॐ जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव ॐ जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव.
Dear sisters and brothers in the divine, those great sages in India, thousands of years ago, who contributed in compiling sacred scripture and holy books like the Vedas, and in creating deathless literature like the Bhagavad and the Mahabharata, all acknowledged the Bhagwad Geeta, the celestial song containing the teachings of Lord Krishna to his disciple Arjun, as unique among all such eminent creations, in the depth and breadth of its spiritual insight and practical instructions for the spiritual path, as well as in the unparalleled beauty and clarity of its poetic expression. There are several different ways of worshiping God, which are established in the names of different religions, holding contrasting views on such matters. However, the ultimate and essential goal of any true spiritual tradition has always remained the same: the quest for God, the ultimate reality. The process of reaching towards this objective is the spiritual path. The question, however, arises that if God is the ultimate reality, and is the only one ultimate reality, then why are there so many sects and cults? To answer this question, we offer this noble creation, the Yatharth Gita, in the form of audio cassettes. The divinely inspired Gita, as taught by Lord Krishna, simplifies the concept of dharma, spirituality, and purposefully guides one on the spiritual path in a structured and complete manner. The core teachings of all the paths subsequently revealed by other sages of the world are each enfolded in the essential teachings of the Gita. It has been implied in the Mahabharata that when the Pandav and the Kaurav armies stood facing each other on the battlefield, all the demons manifested as the Kauravas, while the gods manifested themselves as the Pandavas. In this way, the great Rishi Vyas, the accomplished sage through whom the Gita was revealed, implied that all characters in the great epic were either righteous or devilish human impulses within us, and that all these external characters and situations were only symbolic of man's deepest inner reality. From the beginning, it has been observed that every human being carries within himself both these tendencies, godlike and demon-like. When a human being elevates spiritually in quest of God and towards self-realization, the demoniacal tendencies also raise their ugly head in the form of wrath, anger, infatuation, hatred, and so on. The overcoming of these ugly tendencies and obstacles is the real war depicted in the Gita, the internal war conducted within the sphere of the human heart by the sincere seeker, to liberate himself or herself from worldly bondage and attain spiritual victory and everlasting peace. Arjun held the opinion at the beginning of the Gita that to have the desired results in life, one has to perform important customary rites of his time, abide by family tradition and creeds, avoid the mixing of castes or races, and avoid participating in the violence which would eliminate the families and his kinsmen by refusing to fight in the war altogether. Lord Krishna had to enlighten him on various aspects of life and what was really at stake in the battle underneath its appearance, so that all his doubts were allayed throughout the 18 chapters of the Gita. At the end, Krishna asked Arjun, "Is your delusion born out of ignorance dispelled?" And Arjun professes that indeed, through the grace of Krishna's teachings, his ignorance has been dispelled and his doubts extinguished, and that he is now ready to act in accordance with Krishna's directives. These teachings and precepts, as a matter of fact, were not only for Arjun, but for all mankind. Each of us wonder, as did Arjun, what is the real purpose of life? What are the results we really desire, and what is the correct path to attain them? Hence, reading or listening to and contemplating all 18 chapters of the Gita is of great benefit to all men and women, old and young, indeed, for every human being. The Gita is not only a work of the world's great literature, it is a holy book or scripture relevant to people everywhere and for all times. Therefore, such reading or listening to the Gita will awaken the presence of the divine deep within each one of us, and set worthy values in the minds of children. However, one has to actually tread the path shown by the Gita if one wants to obtain these insights into its knowledge of the great mystery that is existence. These cassettes have been designed to help in that endeavor, and to thereby bring you to infinite joy, eternal peace, prosperity, and the clearing away of all sadness, doubts, and fears, including the great and terrible fear of death. It is indeed a matter of our good fortune and blessings that even after 5,000 years, the teaching of Lord Krishna is available for each of us to apply in our lives. Listen to these cassettes whenever you wish to open your heart and set your mind free of all age-old conventions, and allow it to come on the path of self-realization, the merging into the Supreme Spirit. In doing so, you are an integral part of that timeless tradition everywhere of seekers becoming accomplished sages, experienced by countless individuals in all cultures throughout history, now and in future generations yet to come. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Yatart Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Geeta. Chapter 1. The Yoga of Irresolution and Grief.
धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेता युयुत्सवः मामकाः पाण्डवाश्चैव किमकुर्वत Sanjaya.
Dhritarashtra said, "Assembled at Kurukshetra, at Dharmakshetra, and eager for combat, O Sanjay, what did my and Pandu's sons do?" Dhritarashtra is the very image of ignorance, and Sanjay is the embodiment of self-restraint. Ignorance lurks at the core of the objective, the outward-looking mind. With his mind enveloped in darkness, Dhritarashtra is blind since birth, but he sees and hears through Sanjay, the epitome of self-control. The aging king Dhritarashtra knows that God alone is real, but as long as his infatuation for his son Duryodhana, born from ignorance and usurper of the Pandav throne, endures, his inner eye will be focused on the forces of the Kaurav, who symbolize the ungodly forces of negative, sinful impulses, arrayed for battle against the Pandav forces, who symbolize the godly forces of righteous and virtuous impulses. Dharma is a field for combat. When there is abundance of divinity in the realm of the heart, the body is transmuted into a dharmakshetra, or field of dharma, but it degenerates into a kurukshetra when it is infested with demoniacal powers. Kuru means do. The word is an imperative. As Krishna has said, driven by the three properties born out of prakriti, or nature, man is compelled to act. Without action, he cannot even live for a moment. These properties, virtue, ignorance, and passion, or sattva, rajas, and tamas, compel him to act. Even in sleep, action does not cease, for it is the necessary sustenance for the body. The three properties bind men from the level of gods to that of the lowest creatures, such as worms. So long as the material world and its properties are, kuru must be. Therefore, the sphere of birth and death, of that which is evolved from a previous source or prakriti, nature, is kurukshetra, whereas the sphere of righteous impulses which guide the self to God, the highest spiritual reality, is dharmakshetra. Archaeologists are engaged in research in Punjab, Kashi, and Prayag to locate kurukshetra. But the poet of the Gita has himself suggested, through Krishna, where the war of his sacred poem, the Mahabharata, was fought. This body is itself, O Arjun, a battlefield, and one who conquers it grows spiritually dexterous by perceiving its essence. Krishna then elaborates the structure of this, quote, battlefield, or sphere of action, as constituted of 10 perceptors, the objective and the subjective mind, ego, 5 elements, and the 3 properties. The body itself is a field, a ring, or an arena. The forces that clash on this field are twofold, the godly and the ungodly, the divine and the devilish, the offspring of Pandu and those of Dhritarashtra, the forces that are congenial to the essentially divine character of the self, and those which offend and demean it. The clue to the mystery of the conflict between the opposed impulses begins to be seen when one turns for enlightenment to an exalted or realized sage who has enriched himself with worship and meditation. This field belongs to one who realizes its essence, and the war fought on it is the only real war. History is crowded with wars of the world, but the victors in these wars have but sought in vain for a permanent conquest. These wars were nothing beyond acts of retribution. True victory lies in subduing matter and in perceiving, as well as becoming one with, the Supreme Spirit that transcends it. This is the only conquest in which there is no prospect of defeat. This is true salvation, after which there are no fetters of birth and death. The mind lying in the abyss of ignorance perceives through one who has mastered the mind and the senses, and thus knows what has transpired on the battlefield, where fighters include even those who have known its reality. Vision is ever in proportion to mastery of the mind and the senses.
दृष्ट्वा तु पाण्डवानीकम् व्यूढम् दुर्योधनस्तदा आचार्यमुपसङ्गम्य राजा वचनमब्रवीत्.
Sanjay said, "At the time, after having seen the Pandav army standing in battle array, King Duryodhana approached his teacher Dronacharya and spoke thus." Dual conduct itself is represented by the figure of Dronacharya, the great warrior and teacher of both the Kaurav and the Pandav. When the awareness dawns that we are alienated from God, there arises in the heart an acute hunger for the attainment of that exalted spirit. Only then do we set out to seek an accomplished teacher. Between the two opposite impulses, this awareness of our alienation and ignorance is the first initiator into wisdom, although the teacher of ultimate excellence will be Yogeshwar Krishna himself, an adept in yoga. King Duryodhana, an embodiment of excessive attachment to worldly objects, goes to his teacher. Attachment is at the root of all griefs, indeed their sovereign. It tempts one away from the spiritual treasure, and so it is named Duryodhan. Only the soul property is the stable property, and it is attachment which generates impurity in it. It draws one to the material world, but it also provides the primary motive for enlightenment. Inquisitiveness is possible only as long as there is attachment, or else only the impeccable spirit remains. So, after having seen the Pandav army arrayed, that is, after having glimpsed the righteous impulses that are in tune with the self, Duryodhan, a victim of attachment, goes to his teacher Dronacharya and says,
पश्यैतां पाण्डुपुत्राणाम् आचार्यमहतीं च मूं व्यूढां द्रुपदपुत्रेण तव शिष्येण धीमता.
Behold, O Master, this massive army of Pandu's sons marshaled in battle formation by your wise pupil, the son of Drupad, Drishtadyum. Drishtadyum, the son of Drupad, is the steadfast mind that treasures faith in the universal, immutable reality. He is thus the master, the type of righteous impulses that lead to selfless activity in a spirit of egoless reverence to spiritual divinity. As is said, not means, but the determination of mind needs to be firm. Let us now review the Pandav army at length.
अत्र शूरा महेश्वासा भीमार्जुनसमायुधि युयुधानो विराटश्च द्रुपदश्च महारथः.
Here in the army are many valiant archers, Yuyudhan, Virat, and the great martial commander Drupad, who are a worthy match for the brave Arjun and Bhim. And this army of Pandu's sons, the Pandav, is composed of those who can guide souls to the Supreme Spirit, like Bhim, who is an embodiment of resolute sentiment, the image of tender devotion, Arjun, and many other valiant warriors, such as Satyaki, endowed with goodness, Virat, and the great warrior leader Drupad, symbolizing consistency and steadfastness on the path of spirituality, and
धृष्टकेतुश्चेकितानः काशीराजश्च वीर्यवान् पुरुजित् कुन्तिभोजश्च शैब्यश्च नरपुङ्गवः.
Drishtaketu, Chekitan, and the mighty king of Kashi, as well as Purujit and Kuntibhoj and Shaibya, the unparalleled among men, and Drishtaketu, the steadfast in duty, Chekitan, who can rein in his straying thought and concentrate it on the Supreme Spirit, the king of the holy city of Kashi, an emblem of the sacredness that resides within the world of the body, Purujit, the one who obtains victory over matter in all its forms, gross, subtle, and instrumental, Kuntibhoj, who conquers worldly life by doing what is worthy of doing, then Shaibya, of virtuous conduct.